Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official episode of First Date Unsolved. Don't worry, this isn't a podcast where sound effects will happen often. That's just a one-time thing. The story that we will be covering today is a major one. Major case in Delaware. I am busting down the doors and kicking things off the right way. This episode 1, is dedicated to Janteyl Johnson, who went missing in 2010 at just 15 years old. I'm going to preface this case by saying that I will do my absolute best not to bash anyone. I don't like to make promises I can't keep, but I'm going to do my best to reel it in, contain myself. I have my opinions on local law enforcement and media coverage, but that is my opinion, and we all know what they say about opinions, right? I'm here to report my findings on the unsolved and, some solved cases here in Delaware and bring awareness to these stories by looking into things so you don't have to. Unless I am able to get an interview with someone related to the victims, I'm on my own doing the research and scraping together, enough content for an episode, no matter how long or short. I do this on my own dime, on my own time. True crime is a passion of mine, and I really hope that I can do my part to help the families of these victims. Yes, that was a little flow there as well. Don't worry, that won't be happening often either. It was an accident, sorry. But yeah, when I first announced that I would be starting a podcast, I got mixed emotions, mixed results, mixed feedback. I guess that's the word I was looking for. Some family members, some people I know and care about me were concerned. They don't need to be. I'm not concerned. But a lot of the feedback was, oh, this is so cool. Oh, wow. And I think, let's say 10 people reached out and commented. I don't get a lot of interaction online. I'm sorry. But let's say 10 people reacted. And I would say maybe 7 out of those 10 were like, oh, you need to do Nefertiti Trader. Not everyone should know about that case, but they don't. I mean, a lot of people do know, but hopefully in the future we can fix that. Well, the fact that not everyone knows about it. But I was briefly in contact with a family member of hers, and communication kind of paused due to that family member having a life and their own issues and their own things going on, which I completely understand. I know that talking to a podcast is not anyone's top priority, regardless of, if you have someone in your family missing or not, I understand. But I didn't want to keep pushing. I figured I would let that person get back to me whenever they were ready. I would still like to chat with her, maybe some other family members of Neffy's. So I'm going to kind of pause that episode for now. Maybe next season I'll be able to sit down and chat with people about her, because I would still love to tell that story. But I really want to give Neffy in that case the coverage she deserves and the coverage that you all deserve. So don't worry. I still plan on doing that at some point. I would really love to. But this case is, they're all equally as important, but this one is definitely one you need to hear. So enough about me, enough housekeeping. Let's get into it. I did my best with this episode. It's not lengthy. A lot of these probably won't be lengthy in the beginning. But this story is very important, and it needs to be told as many times as possible, just like, all of these other cases. So Claudia Rivero, who previously worked for NBC 10, originally reported on this story back in 2010 when Janteyl first went missing. Since then, Claudia has continued to work with Janteyl's family and Newcastle County Police to try and get to the bottom of what happened to her. She even did an interview with the Vanish podcast in September 2016. I have listened to that episode. I listened to that prior to recording this, and while I was doing my research. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to it as well. I will try to link that podcast in the show notes. I'm still learning about show notes. I'm pretty sure that's something I can do, so I'll link that as well. And as of February 3rd, 2023, it has been 13 years since the pregnant, yes, Janteyl was pregnant, since the pregnant teen went missing without a trace. And to date, no one has ever been arrested and no suspects have ever been named. I did reach out to Claudia for some information through her website. I believe her email's on her website, but she didn't get back to me. It's okay. I'm not offended by anyone. She's currently working on a documentary covering Janteyl's story and has continued to share updates on her blog over the past decade. So I did take advantage of that information that she has posted in order to put together this episode. I know she's been working on the documentary for a while. I don't believe there's a release date yet, but I have background in editing, filmmaking. Well, not filmmaking, but I have a background in that. I know things can take time, especially when you want to do it right. So if I do find a release date for that, I will share that later at some point. But as of now, there's no release date for that. I also attempted to contact Janteyl's older brother, Prennis Jr. Prennis. Her sister, Janelle, and her mother, Kaima, I believe is how you say it. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to try and butcher anyone's name, but I did reach out to those 3 family members and also got no response. The Johnson family has remained very private when it comes to the subject of their daughter, so I knew it wasn't really likely that I would hear back from them anyway. The Johnsons have refrained from really discussing what happened to their beloved Janteyl because when she was originally reported missing, Wilmington police, I believe it was the Wilmington police, but the police treated her as a runaway instead of a missing child, and little was done to try and locate her in the beginning, which was probably very detrimental to this case, unfortunately. Janteyl did attempt to run away one time prior to her disappearance, but she wasn't gone very long, and I guess the police took that into consideration and thought she was running away again. Obviously, this time was very different because, unfortunately, Janteyl did not come back from wherever, Janteyl's still missing. Janteyl Denise Johnson was born September 8th, 1994. As a baby, her chubby Gerber baby cheeks earned her the family nickname of Puff. Her older sister Janelle described her as funny and feisty. Her sister also described Janteyl as unforgettable. According to Claudia's blog, Janelle was quoted as saying, "Janteyl is a beautiful soul. She's the type of person that if you meet her, you will remember her." Janteyl loved her family dearly, including a niece and nephew, and was just a typical teenager at heart. She enjoyed things most girls her age enjoy, like dancing, singing, being active on social media, and apparently she was obsessed with Betty Boop. She even would prank her siblings from time to time, according to some of the things that I read. Janteyl also ran track. So, very active teen girl. I came across a photo of her and her brother Prennis, and they both are sporting medals from what I can only assume is a track meet. But they're standing there together. They look so proud of their medals and what they accomplished, and it was a very cute photo. So I know he misses her dearly. But yeah, Janteyl was very active. Into things, friends, sports, school. Normal kid. One of Janteyl's main passions was hair. Janteyl loved doing hair, and I read somewhere that her mom mentioned it was like having her own personal stylist at home because Janteyl was constantly doing her mom's hair and her sister's hair. Janteyl had a dream of going to beauty school in Philly, And she wanted the education she needed to become a stylist and hopefully run her own salon one day. She was even prepared to go to business school in order to make her dreams become a reality. At this point right now, I'm going to ask listeners to take a moment and stop and think about what your life was like at 15. What were you doing? What kind of things did you enjoy? What did you get into? For me personally, it sounds a lot like how Janteyl's family described her teen years. I didn't play a lot of pranks on my sister, but once in a while I would take a cup of cold water and toss it over the top of the shower curtain while she was in the shower. That's kind of mean. I apologize, Sarah. But, I remember watching music videos with my friends, trying to memorize lyrics and dance moves. I was not the best dancer out of my friends, but, things that girls did. I played volleyball in the 9th and 10th grade, and, those were good times. I know those were good times for Janteyl, too. I don't want to just get wrapped up in quotes about her from her family. She was a sweet kid with goals and people who, she had people who truly cared about her. With so much trauma and sadness going on in the world all of the time, we become desensitized to tragedy, and it's important to relate to Janteyl and the other victims that I'm going to be talking about on this podcast. It's possible that I'm taking her story a little bit too personal because I was pregnant at a young age. Janteyl was 15, I was 17, and despite being a good kid and actively participating in church with her family, things happened. Janteyl got pregnant. No one's perfect. But please try to put yourself, if not in Janteyl's position, in her family's position. This is major. She's missing. Her family misses her. They love her. She had her whole life ahead of her. We have no idea where she is, if she's okay. We don't know what's going on. So please really be present and think about this stuff because this is serious. Again, I can relate to being pregnant at a young age and can probably imagine a lot of the thoughts going through Janteyl's mind when she discovered that she was with child. Janteyl luckily had a close relationship with her sister Janelle and went to her first with the information, the thought that, hey, I might be pregnant. In fact, Janelle is the person who took Puff to get a pregnancy test, and once the results were confirmed, they went to their mom together. Now, Mrs. Johnson was understandably in shock. Her daughter's 15. This is not something you want or hope for your child, but Janteyl knew from the beginning that she wanted to keep her baby, and her family supported her as she continued to go to school and worked towards her future goals. What I think is even more upsetting than your daughter coming home and telling you that she is pregnant is the fact that she is pregnant with a 27-year-old man's baby. Your child is having a child with a man. Allegedly. Allegedly, this man lied to Janteyl about his age and led her to believe that he was around the same age as her. Janteyl met this man in Wilmington, where the family had lived prior to their move to Newark. According to criminaldefenselawyer.com, in Delaware, it is illegal for an adult, someone 18 or older, to have sex with a minor, someone 15 or younger, even if the sex is consensual. Those who break the law have committed statutory rape. So when the Johnson family found out about the situation that their daughter was in now, they wanted answers. Obviously, this man is freaking out, right? When Janteyl told him that she was pregnant, he figuratively shit himself. He might have literally shit himself, but I'm pretty sure he was figuratively shitting himself. He knew that if the Johnsons decided to press charges, that he would undoubtedly go to prison. And Janteyl even told her sister that this man wanted Janteyl to have an abortion. I shouldn't even be calling him a man. I'm just using that term here to articulate the major age gap between him and the child that he impregnated. While the Johnson family is aware of who this person is, police have never named him, so I can't release that info even if I wanted to. I believe Claudia has his name. She's tried contacting him with no success, but I don't know that information, so please don't ask. He will come up in this episode again later, so moving forward, if I do have to mention him, I'll just refer to him as X whenever he does come up, because I don't want to keep calling him a man. All right. So this all leads up to the day that Janteyl disappeared. On the morning of February 3rd, 2010, Janteyl, who was 5 months pregnant at the time, was dropped off at Glasgow High School by her mom and brother. Prennis recalls that, quote, "We were playing tag in the car. She tagged me, then she ran out of the car and I chased her. She looked back to see if I was chasing her. I wasn't, but she was smiling, and that's the last memory I have of her," end quote. Later that afternoon, Janteyl called her mom to let her know that she wasn't feeling well and was going to go home to rest before she planned on heading back to school for after-school activities. She asked that her mom call her and wake her up in time just in case she overslept, which her mom agreed to. After she was finished with school, her brother was going to pick her up and they would ride to church together for an event that the family had planned on attending at church later that evening. On her way home, she stopped at a grocery store to purchase some candy and then headed home. There is surveillance of her at the store, and the surveillance shows Janteyl purchasing the candy at the self-checkout register before walking out. There's also surveillance of her outside of the store, I guess heading home, and to me, it looks like she's on the phone while she's walking. You'll see her reach down, like scratch her leg, and then continue on her way. I don't know. It looked like to me looks like she's on the phone. Kaima did attempt to call Janteyl that afternoon to wake her up, like she promised, but Janteyl didn't answer. Kaima just assumed that she was either still sleeping or had already gone back to school and thought nothing of it. Nothing about the missed call was a cause for concern for her at that time. When Prennis arrived to pick up Janteyl that evening, he came home to an empty apartment. The door was shut, but it was unlocked, and Janteyl was nowhere to be found. It was apparent that she had been there at some point and had taken a nap and even prepared something to eat, but Janteyl's glasses, her favorite Betty Boop purse, and all of the other items that someone might take with them if they had planned on running away were all left behind. There was no indication of a struggle, so Prennis was not immediately worried, but when he called his mom to let her know that Janteyl was not home, that's when she began to panic. Kaima and Prennis began calling friends of Janteyl's. They called her school and her older sister Janelle, but no one had seen or heard from her since earlier in the day. After several hours of unsuccessful attempts to locate Janteyl, her mom called the police to report her as missing. Again, I mentioned this in the beginning. Police instead labeled her as a runaway, which she was not. The thought of Janteyl running away just didn't make sense to anyone in her family or anyone who knew her. She was excited for an upcoming appointment that she had, and she was going to find out the sex of her baby. And again, she took nothing with her. All of her personal belongings were left behind. No one runs away without taking at least a few clothing items and personal care items, toothbrush, deodorant, brushes, socks, underwear, even a teenager. If she was running away, she would have taken something, Since Janteyl's disappearance, there has been a lot of speculation and many theories have been thrown at the wall, but so far nothing has stuck. The facts we do know are that no one saw or heard Janteyl outside that afternoon she went missing. The apartment complex where they lived is a big one. There's a lot of people that live there, so theories are that if someone did see her outside, no one took notice because there was no sign of a struggle. There was no commotion. There was no yelling, no hollering. So if they did see her, they just didn't take notice of it because it was just her outside talking to someone. The facts we do know are that no one saw or heard Janteyl outside that afternoon she went missing. If they did see her, then they didn't take notice because there was no commotion going on to draw their attention to her. No fighting, no yelling, just it was peaceful. It was also stated that because of the type of phone that Janteyl had, it made it difficult for investigators to access the details inside of her phone. Janteyl had a track phone or burner type phone, and it took a month to get in and view call logs and other details. I had a prepaid phone when I was a teenager, so I guess, similar type. It wasn't a plan, so it wasn't as easy to access. Plus, this was 2010. It's, technology's advanced a lot since then. That is, sadly, a month's worth of very valuable time. According to police, the last phone call that came through Janteyl's phone prior to her disappearance came in at 1:38 p.m. from a number that was later traced to another burner phone. The owner of that phone has never been identified. Days after she disappeared, Janteyl's cell phone pinged near the home of someone related to the man we are now calling X. We also know that Janteyl was in contact with other older men the same day she disappeared, and those men were later questioned by police, including X. But from what I could find, only one of the men questioned was willing to cooperate in the investigation. The man who cooperated was not X. X has refused to work with the Johnsons or the police to help locate and figure out what happened to Janteyl. The family believes that it is possible that X, or someone else that Janteyl knows, called her that afternoon and had her go outside to discuss something briefly. They don't believe that she had any intentions of leaving with that person, just going outside, have a few words, come back in. They don't have anything that points them to believe that she intended on leaving with this person and never coming back. Of course, this is all just speculation, since no one will come forward and say what really happened. It's frustrating. You have these people who were communicating with her the day she disappeared, and no one wants to cooperate. But the last thing I will say about X here today is that he clearly has a habit of luring in young girls. He is also a pretty violent person because in 2013, X was arrested and charged with attacking his girlfriend and the mother of his children. She was 19 at the time. After negotiations, X was sentenced to a 24-month probation sentence. Claudia did eventually speak with X's grandmother, I believe, about Janteyl, but all she would confirm is that X had been questioned by police, and that's it. He still remains uncooperative and unwilling to speak on Janteyl, unfortunately. I'm not trying to bash anybody, just stating facts, okay? Janteyl will be turning 29 this year. Her baby would now be a teen, not much younger than Janteyl was when she went missing. She has been gone for 13 years now. That's 13 years worth of birthdays, holidays, a graduation she missed, and other important milestones in Janteyl and her child's lives that the Johnson family will never get a chance to experience. The latest update I was able to find on the case came from Prennis' Facebook page on December 7th, 2022. So last year, he posted that they may have some sort of lead for the first time. He was resharing a post from his mother that Janteyl's info should be shared, especially in the San Antonio, Texas area. That was in December, and it's now May at this time. And, no updates on Facebook, but hopefully there is something that the police are on track of. I don't know. I just, hopefully they find her. I hope the lack of news is good news in this situation, but we'll just have to wait, unfortunately. I was not given permission by the Johnson family to use any of Janteyl's images, so I will just share the missing person poster of her on my socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok too. I'm trying to learn how to use that. On September 8th, 2016, which was Janteyl's 22nd birthday, Prennis posted a poem that he wrote for Janteyl shortly after she vanished, and I will also post that here in the show notes and on socials. I'm not going to read it just because it's going to make me upset. But yeah, I'll post that. His Facebook page is public. I don't think I'm really stealing anything. I'm giving him credit for it. This is his poem. So I will share that if I can. But yeah, this is the story of Janteyl. Very sad. It's very important. Again, I cannot reiterate that enough. Very important that her information be shared. Very important that we find her and find out what happened to her and her baby. She deserves justice. Her family deserves justice. You know, let's bring her home. Okay, guys? If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening to the first episode. I am so excited. Yeah, I can't wait to get going. 3 episodes will be out June 1st. So this episode, the second episode, and third episode. So you'll have 3 to listen to. And if you get through that and you don't hate my voice, then I'll have another episode out, hopefully once a week following the first 3. It's kind of hard to get enough content put together. I'm still trying to organize and coordinate interviews. I'm not going to stop. This will be going for a while, hopefully. But yeah, thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate it. And you know what? Just because we're in Delaware, that doesn't mean anything. You know, if you thought nothing happened here, you thought wrong. Bye, guys.